ultimately it goes back to understanding that this is not just about me, and it's a bigger thing. Like um, when, say, I accept certain misbehavior because that is meted out to me because I'm a woman. um, when I realize that it's about the struggle that women face, then I find that much more courage to fight against it. It's not about me anymore. It's again, although and it is personally affecting me, but it is something that's bigger than me. So yeah, that does help.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the weekly conversations at Coacharya. It is so great to see you all joining in this conversation. Another exploring journey, another intriguing conversation that we intend to have so that we can collectively learn from each other. And continuing with the theme that we picked for this month, which is challenging the status quo, and we've been exploring different dimensions, different layers, and different aspects of this particular theme. We are continuing the conversation with our guest today. And I have a little update as well. We had two guests, young people, joining us in our conversation. One, unfortunately, could not join us today because of some rains that they are facing in the area where they are, and because of which the internet connection isn't working. So we do the best what we when we do when such situations arise, we improvise. And so in this improvisation journey today, I have got with me Nishmita D'Souza. A lot of you who have been associated with Coacharya and Coacharya Universe for a longer time might know who Nishmita and her name because she has been associated with Coacharya. She's been part of Coacharya team for a very, very long time. And today, Nishmita is joining us as a guest. And it is quite apt that we wanted to speak to her because this young lady is nothing less than a wonder. In such a young age, she's worked in corporate, and she is currently pursuing her master's in education from Azim Premji University in Bangalore. And she has her own NGO that she runs. Now, for me, who is born in late 70s and well, born with an aspiration to do something great, but choosing the beaten path to follow, this is a huge change. So the admiration for the young people of today's generation come very naturally to me who choose to go a different route, follow an unbeaten path, follow their dreams and desires and make it good. So please welcome Nishmita. And Nishmita, how are you feeling being on the other side in the webinar today?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hi Komal again. Yeah, it feels nice. It's interesting. Yeah. Thank you. I feel honored that you've chosen that you've invited me to speak have a conversation with you on this topic. Um, but yeah, I think I'm just starting off, so I don't know. But yes, I'd love I'm excited about it.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Nishmita, for joining us today. Because, as coaches or known coaches, I'm sure a lot of people who come from my generation or, even elders would love to know what is really amazing about these young people, what makes you tick, and what really inspires you to do what you do. And in learning, so I think there is a huge takeaway for us, not just coaches, but also, as individuals who might have the children that we are taking care of, or even the clients, because sometimes we get to work with the youth and the young clients. So, to better understand the motivations, the values, and what really this generation is about is something of great value that we hope that we will take away from today's conversation. Aside from getting to know a wonderful young person like you and your purpose. So, Nishmita, how do you see yourself as a person when you have to tell yourself about somebody? How would you say it? What would you tell about yourself?
That's actually a very interesting question that you've asked, because um, I think I see myself differently at different points of time. It depends on how I'm feeling. It depends on what's going on in my life. And I think that might go for most people, right? Like on some days we wake up feeling quite happy and confident about ourselves, and on other days not so much. Some days we're really sure about, what we're doing, and some days not at all. Um, but overall, I think it's been a journey with myself. I did go through a few years ago, um, like deep work on myself, because I was struggling in many ways, mentally and emotionally. But um, I think it really pushed me, that experience, the therapy that I went through with that, and thereby discovering myself so much, like, discovering who I am and what I want to be, more than, what I'm supposed to be, and stuff. I'd say that now, even on days when I'm not feeling too happy, or I still like myself. So, yeah, it's been interesting in that sense. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and there is something very intriguing and interesting in what you've shared, Nishmita. One, it speaks quite a lot about that focus and concentration that you put on self awareness, which if I reflect back, I think uh, that is a remarkable difference, because I wouldn't say that I was so, even aware of the self awareness fact, or knowing so clearly and so better about myself and what it is that I really want. Though I would say that we'd had dreams, we'd had desires, but that self focus or self awareness wasn't something I would say was present for majority of us, if I could say, for a whole lot of people who would resonate with it. And another thing that you said in the beginning really intrigues me is when you said that, some days are really energizing, exciting, and some days are very down and low. And it is very natural to have. But what I am more interested in knowing is that when it is not really very exciting and engaging, how do you bring yourself back?
So there are a bunch of things actually that I would do. Um, it's a process that's taken time, and a couple of exercises that I would say I've learned over the years. The most important one is affirmation. Um, and I'm very careful to make them to something that I believe in. So um, I like say that I sometimes go through phases when I don't believe, um, not that I don't believe, but I'm struggling to believe that I deserve love and happiness. I do this practice that I stick a page on my wall, right next to my bed, and every day as soon as I wake up, I write the date, and I write that I too deserve love and happiness, and that's the first thing that I do. Um, So yeah, like, I mean, I'm not I'm not, it's not that I do this every single day, but especially in times when I really need to, this really helps me. And I do find that slowly I start to understand it. um, and there is a trick around this, right? Like, these statements have to be positively stated. They can't be negatively stated, because then the negative part of it remains. Um, like, say, instead of saying I do, if I said I do not hate myself, my mind would still think that the hate myself is still there somewhere. So instead, I focus on what I want to focus on, which is I love myself. So that helps. Yeah. Yeah, that's one. I think another one is that, um realizing that what I want to do, or what I'm the area that I'm working on, is so much bigger than me, really helps, because it doesn't become about me anymore. So in a sense, that I have to I have to set aside whatever I'm feeling, and then go forward, and still try and do my best for this bigger cause. So looking at something that's not about myself actually helps me. But of course, there is a balance here, and I think, yeah, you have to be kind to yourself, and also not beat yourself too hard when you're genuinely tired or struggling and not able to do something. But yeah, I think, um, learning a little bit more to listen to my mind and my body. I struggle more with my listening to my body, but yeah, that.
Wow, there's something so profound in what you've said, that engaging with something or focusing on something which is much bigger than me sort of helps me. And I would say a little more about that. How does engaging in something which is bigger than you sort of help you?
Um, Okay, I'll give you an example of, say, during COVID, right? Um, all of us were locked up at home, seeing and our only access to the outside world and to understand what was going on is social media, and um, yeah, and cell phones, and computers. And um, there was this weird guilt that you feel like, you can't do anything, but at the same time, it's a very disempowering feeling, right? Like, you just genuinely can't do anything. And and like, over time, I think we all slowly learned that every once in a while we should cut off from, this news which is not helping in some ways, and take time off. But also, there is this sense of responsibility to understand what's going on, because not everyone has the privilege to not face those things. um, so during those disempowering times, like, just sitting, and sometimes, of course, I also spent weeks just lying in bed, not knowing what to do, and just feeling really low about things. But then, having opportunities, or reaching out or to volunteering opportunities, when you can just sit at home and, like, um, you know arrange for, say, when there was a very big shortage of oxygen and beds, hospital beds, and things like that. And there were organizations which were doing work around this, and they just needed volunteers to sit from home and just coordinate calls. So literally not hardly anything that I had to do for it. Like, I was just had to sit in front of the computer and, like, um, enter some stuff into a data sheet, or make a few calls and update WhatsApp messages. Um, but just feeling like I'm doing something helped me feel better, and then come out of that sadness. So yeah, I mean, that extends to life as well, I think. Otherwise, our world becomes so small, and we get so caught up in, um, these tiny, not tiny, of course, like, that's invalidating things also. But I guess I, at least personally, have a tendency to overthink, and, just get caught up in my own little problem sometimes. So um, every once in a while, looking at the bigger picture, and seeing what I can do about it, kind of just helps me not limit myself to that, and understand that there is not just and there is also, in many ways, a very beautiful world out there. And my reality is not, or my perception of what reality is just a very small part of what actually is. So yeah, it gives me joy, I guess. I can say that.
Wow. I again hear a lot of awareness about self perception when you say that my perception of the world is just one small part of what is out there. And it shows to me that although you acknowledge your perception, but you're not too engaged or attached to just that, and you're being open to other experiences and diverse opinions and perspectives for yourself. I think it's a good time for me to ask you tell us a little bit about your purpose, your project that you've taken up, and what you're working towards.
Um, all right. So I do something for fun, which has become a big part of me, not for fun really, but for myself. And then there's also my, I would say, my life goal or my career path. I'll start with that one. So I think since a long time, given I've I felt a very strong passion towards education, and I always for for as for a very long time that I can remember, I did feel like education is a one thing that you can uh, that can be as something that can empower people to move ahead in life and break out and just at least bring about some sort of social mobility. um, I think it comes back from the story of my own family and how that has changed things for me. Like my life would have been very different otherwise, and also uh, seeing growing up and living in India and things. So it started from there, and um, so then after I finished my degree, my bachelor's, I joined this organization called Teach for India. It's part of Teach for All, which has which has organizations across. There's Teach for America, there's Teach for Bangladesh, there's many across globe. So what it is a 2-year fellowship program where you are placed as a teacher into a classroom, and you have to work in that low income classroom for 2 years and try and just intervene and provide better education. um, yeah, it was an interesting journey. There was it wasn't all wasn't all rosy to say the least. I think that was the first time I kind of got a real hit of what the world is like and things. But yeah, it pushed me into this direction where I taught grades 8, 9, and 10. So I started understanding more like it, when students are in that age, you're more towards um like going out again into the world um and then what happens. So like that's where like you're closer to starting to find a job and things, um and just seeing like the disparity or the gap that's there between economic and social classes. um it's challenging. It's really challenging, even if you want to come out of certain of your situation. It's very hard to, and that really didn't seem fair. So it made me feel like that's a very crucial age, youth. So post that, like I was taking some time to figure myself out, and that's when I was working with Coacharya as well. But and post that, I started an NGO of my own. It's very small and not much happening right now, but the whole idea is to work with youth, and in the long run create programs that help increase youth employability. Right now, we have a gadget sponsorship and donation drive. What we essentially do is have donors either donate laptops that secondhand laptops that they've used, or contribute towards a gadget that we then have put in touch with, like then we give to a student in need, having verified them, and then we provide a student profile to the donor. So that's been the main project so far, and that's just honestly just started out purely out of need, given COVID and things moving online and having a very very big digital divide in India. um, but it's continued in some sense. Um, yeah, and post that now, I honestly didn't feel like I knew or I was equipped enough to, run full-fledged programs yet. So I've I've decided I'm currently pursuing a master's. I'm doing an MA in education, and the whole hope is that, once I'm done with this degree, that I will be better equipped. I'll be able to form better connections and then run better programs for youth. So that's that. I'll pause here before I get into my artwork. With if you have something you want to ask me about it.
No, it's amazing. It's awesome. But I would really want to take this opportunity to do a shout out to all the people who have joined us and who are listening us. If you want to sponsor a gadget, or if you have a gadget lying at home which nobody is using and it is in usable condition, please reach out to Nishmita D'Souza so that she can make good use of that gadget and make it reach somebody who can really, really make use of that. I would also like to give a call or a shout out to corporate people who are in the social responsibility spaces, and that's a good cause, bringing the digital capabilities to the people who really can't afford them. And yeah, so we're going to do is, Nishmita, with your permission, I will include your email ID, your contact in the details when we put the video out there, and people can reach you.
Thank you so much, Komal. That's very generous of you. That means a lot. That would be
No,
very, very helpful.
it's at least we can do from our end, spread the good voices all across. And that takes me to your other passion. Tell us about that.
Um, Yeah, I just first of all want to say thank you to all of the support that I'm getting on chat from the attendees. It really means a lot. It's very encouraging. It will help me on days that I'm not feeling so great. So thank you. Yeah. So about my artwork, I'm not a formal artist. I would hardly call myself an artist to be honest, but art does mean a lot to me. It I think again starts with um it starts with where when I mentioned like I had like a very difficult time that I was going through personally. So I do suffer from depression clinically, and I'm honestly quite open about it because yeah. So I think art was something that helped me channelize my emotions and help me understand better. It started alongside with when I was doing therapy, when I was going through a lot, and there was a lot of thoughts in my mind, but they would just be a jumble of like, or a big knot in there. Um, and I wouldn't be able to explain it even to myself. And there was a lot of judgment to self and like of my emotions and my thoughts and everything. um, but something that so what would happen is sometimes I wouldn't really be able to explain what I'm to myself what I'm feeling, but I would have an image flash in my mind of what it is. So I would try to draw it, and now that I have a drawing out there, like I would try to describe what I'm trying to say through that drawing. And then while describing that, I would be able to understand it for myself, because now I have something written on paper and it's out there. And that would kind of help me to look at it objectively. I'm sorry, there will be a little bit of background noise. Then, yeah. So that would help me, look at things objectively and understand, okay, fine, this is what I'm going through. If I'm even so called like negative emotions that we label, right? Like, okay, fine, if I'm feeling a certain way, say I'm feeling jealous. So rather than suppressing it, and that is an energy that is eventually going to come out. um, so rather than having it come out in a way that I cannot control, my art or writing would help me bring it out in a way that uh, help me understand it better, and then be more informed, emotionally informed about my actions. So there was less judgment about the emotion, but I would also know that this feeling is coming from a place of, say, jealousy. So I'd probably not want to act this way. And so that's really helped, and it's grown. Like, I think through times when I didn't know exactly what, how I knew what I want to do, but I didn't know how to go about doing it. um, it's really helped me to come and to to take some solace, like, okay, fine, like I don't know how to express this, but at least I have my art to that's with me. And putting it out on social media really helped, because it helped me assert myself. And especially as women, I think a lot of times, we're people in general really, but especially as women, we're told to suppress our emotions and just smile and be happy, and not express. Especially anger is supposed to look like something that's not very attractive, right? But having this out there like helped me assert it. And when people started reacting positively to it, not always, and it did, like I did feel vulnerable many times, but having people connect to it and saying that, this is something that I go through as well, makes you feel a little less alone, which is really nice.
Amazing. That's beautiful. Acknowledging your own emotions and then accepting them by calling out. I really appreciate and admire both your courage and the innocence with which you've sort of embraced the whole of you, like who you are. And then you've also found a very creative outlet for your emotions and your feelings, which sort of is a very freeing and liberating event for you. And, it resonates so much. Last month, we had our theme around creativity. And in the third week, we had a conversation with two artists. One was a poet, the other was from theater. And the entire idea of that conversation was like how art and your own personal expression could be such a freeing and such a liberating outlet in everybody's life. The whole purpose of learning any particular art form is not to become a professional artist, but it is more to, give ourselves or to aid ourselves with a way of life which helps us go through all of these challenges that we face otherwise. And I so agree with you when you say that, the way in culturally or socially sometimes that we just cannot express ourselves. It's not good to hold those things inside, but just to find a creative outlet and let it out of your system in a way which, and how you're doing is so beautiful, like you're not letting it out in a way which sort of uh, impacts others negatively, but it is actually inspiring for so many people. And I've seen your doodles and I really admire them. I follow you on Instagram and I'm a fan. So I would say it's a wonderful way to find out. Uh, can I ask a really personal question? Although many people are listening to you. And I think a lot of people who would be listening to you sharing your story might be thinking on those lines, like, didn't you ever had the sort of expectations which we have while we are growing up from a youth, that you choose a particular career path or subject which will give you a lucrative career, like your education is decided on the basis of the career path you should go into. Instead, what you've done is you have chosen to study something which enables already what the purpose that you've identified. That because this is going to enable me into my purpose, I've done. Haven't you come across those expectations and pressures?
Yes, of course I have. Yeah. Well, but I would first like to acknowledge also that um, privilege does play a huge role in one's ability to. I'm not saying that it's impossible to, make your dreams a reality if you don't have it, but I do want to acknowledge that it was, um, it was a privilege in many ways that I did have the chance to take this risk as well. Um, I'm not. I don't know. I'll just say that I don't know. Whether I would have been able to choose this way of life for myself if it was different. Um, Apart from that, to answer your question though, is yeah, I did I did face that a lot, and I still do. there are a lot of questions, and many times, especially like from myself as well, right? Like um when you see again, I'll go back to Instagram and social media, because it is a very, very real influence in our lives these days, and they are multi-million-dollar companies which are working tirelessly on having us become dependent on them. So as much as we try to wean off, it does influence us in many ways, right? So seeing people live a different life, my own peers, does sometimes make me question things, especially when I am not, especially say in the line of work that I want, like seeing results isn't always as easy and not very clear. So sometimes it is like, oh no, what am I doing? But then I do have to pause and think, wait, do I want that? And I'm like, no, I have actively chosen a life that is other than that. And I would not have been happy with that, because my definition of success is very personal to me. And my definition of success is different. And um, I want, I don't even want many of those things that come with that, lifestyle, or that those career choices. So um every time I do remember that I am actively choosing this life, it really helps. And I think another thing that really makes a difference is the people that you have around you. A big difference. As much as I would like to be strong and independent, and I do try to be that in every way, but I do know that, you know that we are social beings, and we do get impacted by the people around you. So it's taken some time to understand who I want around me as well. Not that I would be intolerant towards others, like everyone has different ways of life, but predominantly like trying to surround the kind of myself with the kind of people that that resonate with me, but at the same time do challenge my thinking, and I can learn from, um, really helps and pushes me, and keeps me motivated. Um, and also, this is a tiny thing that I do. Like, I do seek out women who are older than me, and who have certain traits that I really admire, and I kind of set set a goal for myself that, by their age I would like to display those traits, or be that, um, what do you say, that accomplished in whatever, way that they are. And it's a little funny, but yeah, it's sort of like my way of goal setting.
That's quite interesting. It's such an active way of modeling and getting your inspiration through the role models that you give yourself. Yeah. And in whatever you've shared about your journey and your story, Nishmita, two things I hear loud and clear, which is one, that I see you are so driven by a sense of purpose in your life, and that you possess and you've got a whole lot of self awareness. And I see a sort of an authenticity, oozing, emanating out of you when you even acknowledge that, when that I'm privileged in many ways as well. And then whatever challenges come my way, I sort of know who is my role model and who do I really want to be in my coming years. And that is, I think, a huge takeaway for me personally, and I think possibly for all the people who want to, who are listening to Nishmita right now, and who want to create a life of their dreams. And so, we've called you out to speak about under a theme of challenging the status quo. But how do you feel? Do you feel that by being who you're being, or by doing what you've chosen to do, you've sort of challenged some sort of a status quo?
um I don't. I think, like, we spoke a little bit on this. I don't think I challenge it enough, honestly speaking. But I also have learned to pick my battles. It's like slowly, but yes, I think if given a choice, uh, I would like that, ideally speaking, that we've lived in a world where this wasn't a challenge and that we were just all able to accept each other and our choices the way that it is. But it's not the case. And yeah, there are times when just my very existence or the way that I behave or the way that I might choose to dress or, or the things that I might speak out would uh, really annoy people, and not because I want to. I don't. That's not even what's on my mind. I'm sometimes just being myself, and that does happen. And it's not very fun when that does happen sometimes because, um, yeah, like, it's kind of like a feeling a little bit vilified just for being who you are. And, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm offensive by just existing. But I think um, once that emotion has flown out and been processed, and then being able to understand that, hey, that's not very personal to you, that's more of a systemic thing, and that's how society is functioning. And it's just that, and these people aren't getting annoyed really at you per se, but at more, the discomfort is coming from an idea that has been so drilled into their an idea that has been so drilled into their mind being challenged. um, it does help. I don't always do it perfectly, the whole understanding aspect. In fact, I think the closer that you are to people, the more, the more impatient that you might be with them. I mean, personally, right? Like, as far as these things are concerned. Mm. But yeah, I do try. And ultimately, it goes back to understanding that this is not just about me and it's a bigger thing. Like, um, when, say, I accept certain misbehavior because that is meted out to me because I'm a woman. Um, when I realize that it's about the struggle that women face, then I find that much more courage to fight against it. It's not about me anymore. It's again, although, and it is personally affecting me, but it is something that's bigger than me. So yeah, that does help.
It's very interesting. This point is quite apt that you brought out, like to be able to distinguish between what's personal and what's systemic. And that brings in a whole different level of clarity in your own mind. And it sort of enables you to set aside some what otherwise you might take as a personal hurt, but cultivate a lot of energy and a forward momentum, knowing that no, it's not a personal hurt, but it's something larger, but it's something bigger. And one thing which I notice is that when you say that, whenever you are able to focus on that, no, it's something larger, it's something bigger than me, it gives you a lot of energy to work towards that. Whereas there could be some people who, if they'll feel that it's something larger, it would actually sort of diminish them in a way. So what is this different? What is this unique that happens within your own system, that when you're able to focus or put your energy on something larger than yourself, it sort of energizes you? Have you thought of it earlier?
Actually, no. I just know that it happens. I don't know if I've really thought about how or why it happens, because um I actually didn't think that there are people who would react the opposite way. Um I think maybe it comes from uh the early on um values that were instilled in me when I was much younger, be it through schooling or, I'm not religious anymore, but through religion as well, and of course through my parenting, the parenting that I received. Um, I think there was this immense value that was placed on um, on giving back, as we call it. Um, and yeah, I think somewhere made that helped me understand my existence. Like there were many times that I didn't feel worth living or feel a sense of value for myself. And I think somewhere doing these things gave me that um, value to myself, that if it's I don't know if it's the healthiest way for things to start when start doing these things, but in hindsight I'm glad because it's brought me here. But um yeah, I think that just having that, doing these things gave me this sense that okay, like so almost like I deserve now to live on this planet, or do or I've earned my place of sorts. I think maybe that's where it started and it helped. But yeah, like I said, I don't think that's the most the most healthy way to look at things. In fact, it can be quite problematic and self-demeaning. But yeah, it started that way, and now it's not so much like that anymore. It's just something that gives me joy, and I realize that every act is selfish. It comes from a place of selfishness, and um, even if I'm doing something for someone else, it's giving me joy, right? So that's something that I'm getting out of it. If I'm going to put up with somebody's nonsense, then that's giving me the satisfaction that I'm not being, say, stubborn or something like that. So knowing that either choice is something that is selfish helps me make better informed decisions, I guess, and not be so bitter about, like, like, oh, I'm doing this for you and you're not like seeing things for me. No, I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for myself. You didn't ask it. So yeah.
It's interesting. And what you're saying sort of brings me some other points around selflessness, altruism, selfishness, because sometimes, we sort of get stuck with the definitions and the words, right? So, how we understand what meaning we derive out of selfishness, basically. So, eventually, at the end of the day, whatever you do, whoever you're being, whatever your actions are, is ultimately aimed for self. Anything we put our energies and our interests into, it is because it makes us explore something new about ourselves. It makes us live ourselves in ways which are so whole and so complete. And that is also a whole idea of, I don't know if you've heard of karma yoga. Or so in yoga, there are 4 different paths: the karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga, and raj yoga in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Karma yoga is primarily around service. Like whatever action you take in your life or whatever action you pursue it as a service to something or to somebody. And when you connect your action with that intent of service, like you're being service, then your actions are altruistic, then your actions are selfless, although you do derive quite a lot about self. And I think it makes sense as well, because in silos, just within our own selves, we just cannot even explore ourselves. We need other people, we need purpose, we need the work around, we need the world around us to educate us, to bring us more closer to ourselves. And I remember what Ram Dass said, that we are all walking each other home. So whatever we are doing for everybody, we are sort of helping each other come more closer to their own self. And when you spoke about your values and the values placed in giving back, I sort of connected to that karma yoga, or that service value that you have got in you. So I don't think that's anyway is a wrong way of thinking. I think it's it's one way, and it is the way with us humans, right? So let's just celebrate that.
Yeah. I guess what I mean is that, uh, when I'm doing it, sometimes thinking that, oh, it's the right thing to do, or it is the right thing to do and the responsible thing to do. But when my actions are more motivated by that thought, or the thought that I'm supposed to be doing this, it's coming more from a place of obligation. And as long as I'm doing something out of obligation, I'm going to be bitter when things are not going right. And especially in the social sector, like many times things will not go right, and that does develop a really deep sense of bitterness and darkness sometimes, and can be quite hard to get out of. But when you realize that you're actually choosing this, and it's a choice that you have made fully knowing, and that the people who you are serving are have not asked for you to come there and serve you. You chose this. So um like, of course, gratitude and respect would be lovely to get back, and but it shouldn't be an expectation that I go in with, because then that defeats the whole purpose of doing it itself. It corrupts it in a way. So yeah, I hope that explains it better.
Ownership. I hear ownership in whatever you just explained, and in your sharing, I'm sort of reaching out to certain key words, key model of a form. Like if you have to, follow what you are supposed to do, what are the elements important for that? So thank you so much. I would definitely put it up as my summary after our conversation. And I would like to take one audience question. And you've spoken earlier about this topic as well, about social media. And you said that how social media is so important and relevant for today's generation, and that there are both the positive and negative impacts. So, in your view, when you see your contemporaries or the young people around, how do you think they are, the social media sort of influences them? And what is it that they're doing right? And what is it that they're not doing right?
That's a question with a very long answer, but I'll try to keep it short. So I do feel very strongly about this. It affects us from a very young age, right? Like, especially today, like, at least even with my generation, I think Facebook came in when I was in high school. So I still got to live a decent amount of my formative years without it. um, I view it as a tool. A tool can be used for good and, for want of a better word, but for evil. And it depends on how you use it, right? But given, many times it can be very problematic, and I think we need to actively pay attention to how we're using it, and how we're teaching our children and younger generations how to use it, right from a lot of times. This is a personal view, and it's a very tricky one. So I don't mean to offend anyone when I'm saying this, but a lot of times, when it's exciting, when you have a toddler or a baby, and we're constantly taking videos of it and putting it up. But then sometimes that can also be problematic, because where is the child's consent in that? Where is what happens when we're constantly recording them? Are we teaching them while we're doing that? Are we making them already camera conscious, and always wanting to smile and pose for the camera and act for the camera, rather than just allowing them to just be? Again, that's a personal opinion. But yeah, like, so right from then, it seems to, like, when it comes to filters, like, Instagram filters, like, how are we using them? Again, I'm not saying that it's bad or it's good, but, like, are we not accepting the way that we look naturally? And things like that. But of course, it also can be super helpful. Like, I myself have used it, and I've also been a trap. I've also fallen in the trap of all of these things that I've mentioned. I felt bad about my life while looking at other people's life. Even with my artwork, I can't say that I'm never affected or don't take things personally. I do, and my artwork does help me get out of it, but I do also get very, very affected by certain things. So I have also wondered why people might give me, like, say, I don't know, a lot more likes, double the number of likes when I put a picture of myself up, but not pay as much attention to my artwork, you know and then you have to then move back and think about, okay, wait, like, but am I doing this for them or am I doing it for myself? I am a human being and I do look for validation, but where is that balance of it? However, that I wouldn't say that we have to discard it altogether. Social media, again, like I said, it's helped me assert myself through it, like, and my through my art. It's also the gadget drive that I spoke about. It happened completely on social media, and it's helped mobilize a ton of resources. Like, people were getting oxygen cylinders and hospital beds, donating blood during COVID through social media. So it's amazing what it can do. People and everyone has access to it. So it is an equalizer in many ways. There are so many people who make reels and who created some amazing things as well through it. So I think it boils down to how we use it, and catch ourselves every time that we don't when we get carried away by what might be the wrong things, and really pause and question what that means for us, and then understand, maybe take breaks from it sometimes. But essentially, I don't know if villainizing social media is the best way to go, because I mean, there's no avoiding it completely, quite honestly. I don't see that, at least. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I remember I got introduced to Google when I was like in the last semester of my master's program. And when one of my friends sort of introduced it, I was like, what is, like, he said you can search anything on it. I said, but how? You put in one word and then it gives you some blue, green links and all. And I don't know what to do with this. And oh my God, it was scary. And yeah, the generation that is born with all of these, and like the word moves on your fingers, there's a huge difference. Like, your sensibilities, your values, your way of looking at the world sort of grows with already this technology and this way of life. But something that you've said in this is so important, is that it again falls down on us, is like, what is it that we are seeking, and what is it that is our measure of what we are seeking? Like, what would I be happy with? Would I be happy with uh, people just paying attention to it? Or would I just be happy by the way that, okay, I created something and I just put it out there? What is my own personal parameter is something that need to be understood. And the more and more I hear, the more I feel like, especially with all of these new technologies and new disruptive things happening in our environment, I think the need for youth to be a lot self-aware and grounded into their personal sense of being is very, very important. I mean, it has always been important, but in the light of the world the way it is right now, I think that's calling out quite loudly to us all. We're coming closer to the conclusion of our conversation today, Nishmita, and I would just like to put up what I thought, or what I had taken away from having this conversation with you. What seems like are the key points if you want to challenge the status quo, whether within your own life, within your own family, society, or the larger system. So the points that have showed up to me are having a deep sense of purpose, being very, very clear about what your purpose is, and let the purpose guide you instead of just your own desires and dreams. Then self-awareness stand out to be very, very important. Like, whatever you've shared, self-awareness has been like a boon, like been a savior for you all through. Then knowing what are your values. What are the values that are sort of driving you, and what is your own value system and how it aligns to your purpose is very important. Ownership. Oh my God. You said that point, that know that you're doing something because you chose to do it, not because you have to do it. Because just I want to do it or I have to do it makes a whole lot of difference in the kind of energy that you generate within yourself and you also approach your work. Apart from these, and also, yes, very, very important is having a distinction of the systemic view versus personal. Like knowing and having a systems awareness, a systemic awareness and connection is very important. Any other point that you might like to add to it and say that, yes, this is also something important for anybody to consider?
Um, I wouldn't add anything really, but I think I would slightly change one of those.
Okay.
So the one about purpose, I think, um, I mean, this whole sense of purpose thing, I think sometimes we give it a little too much importance in a way, like, and then we beat ourselves up over, oh no, I don't know what my purpose is, and my purpose keeps changing, and all of that. But maybe my purpose is just to, like, I don't know, chill out on the beach and, relax. And maybe I don't have a sense of purpose, but I think what's more important than discovering a sense of purpose is just to constantly question ourselves and understand ourselves better. So um, and find and look at life as a series of opportunities to get to know ourselves and the world around us better, and to just explore it. And I'm sounding very la-di-da, but explore it and enjoy it, and yeah, and then see what we want to do with that, like with what we have, to make sense of ourselves and the world around us for ourselves. That's more how I view it. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I couldn't have said it better. That whether you have a sense of purpose, or whether you know what your purpose is, or you're just figuring out, or whether you don't ask that question, I think what you said is very, very important, which is take life as a series of opportunities and enjoy it. Yeah.
When you can, sometimes you can't enjoy it.
Yeah. And so one point which is showing up in what you've said to me just um, take it as it comes and be okay with it.
Yeah, that's yeah, it gets challenging. There's a lot of, like, when especially there's uncertainty, and especially if you suffer from anxiety, then that's not a very easy thing to do, because everything is scary and you can't sleep at night. But yeah, I think, like, affirmations, talking to yourself, a lot of self-talk, talking to people who will ground you, or finding ways to ground yourself, coaching, all of these things will really help. And I think eventually, when we get to just learn how to take care of ourselves better, then it's fine. Like with my first round of depression, I mean, the first time when I realized I have it, it it was essentially me equipping myself then through therapy with skills to be able to manage it later on, and yes, come out of it. But also sometimes you can't, right? Like, so yeah. And then now it's more, it's easier, more manageable. I wouldn't say it's easier, but it is more manageable, and you know how to do it, you know how to handle it. And yeah, it all boils down to knowing yourself and learning how to take care of yourself. And it comes from learning how to value yourself, because each one of us is valuable. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, it brings me to my last and final question to you, which is you've been in the coaching world and you know about coaches. So From your point of view, what would you like to tell the coaches or the mentors about the young people? Like, what should we be mindful and aware about when working with young people?
Mhm. Um, I think uh, view everyone as an equal in terms of deserving of being deserving of respect. And I think that's the most important. Yes, with age comes experience, which is indispensable, but each person has a very, very strong individual um, personality. It comes with a lot of who, the surroundings that they come from, the learnings that they have, and also the traits that they're inherently born with, and that needs to be nurtured and grown. And the first step to being able to do that is just basic respect, and viewing people as equals. um, I think another is, I think this is the basic of coaching, so I don't really need to say it, or it's not very profound, but it is something that I would think is very important to stress on, is to ask and understand, and not ask leading questions or manipulative ones, but more questions that would prod them to think better, and understand and seek more clarity, and have it more driven towards them and what uh, they want. Yeah, it's just that. Sorry, I don't think gave a very yeah answer for that.
No, that's quite apt to the point, and a point well taken. And we'll remember as coaches. So thank you so much, Nishmita. I can't tell
Thank
you
you.
how amazing this conversation has been for me, of leaving away more inspired. And I'm sure everybody who's listened to us today and will continue to listen to us later on will find the same sense of inspiration. And wish you all the best for your journey. And again, I would like to remind everybody, whoever is listening, connect with this young lady, know more about her purpose, and do whatever you can to support in her endeavor. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Nishmita.
Thank you so much for having me on this. It's been really lovely. It's a lovely conversation that got me thinking about a lot as well. And to everyone who's been listening and sending in your love and support, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening in and joining and connecting with us. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.